The wind howled, a mournful cry that echoed through the ancient trees, sending shivers down the spines of those who dared to listen. Rain lashed against the shutters, each drop a relentless reminder of the storm's fury, battering the village with an unyielding force. Inside, huddled around a flickering candle, villagers whispered in hushed tones, their faces etched with worry and fear. Their voices were low, filled with dread, as if speaking too loudly might summon the very darkness they feared. A darkness had fallen upon their land, a darkness born of fear and suspicion. Its name? Witchcraft. The mere mention of it sent chills down their spines. Across Europe, for centuries, a chilling spectre haunted the collective consciousness, a shadow that loomed large over every village and town. It whispered in the shadows, fueled by ignorance and superstition, growing stronger with each passing year. This was the era of the witch hunts, a period stained by the blood of the innocent and the echoes of tortured screams. It was a time when fear ruled over reason. From the 15th to the 18th centuries, Europe was gripped by a collective madness, a feverish hunt for those accused of consorting with the devil. The trials were a grim spectacle. These were not phantom threats. The accused were real people, often those who were different or misunderstood. Real lives, often those on the fringes of society, were shattered under the weight of accusations. Families were torn apart and communities were plunged into chaos. Women mostly became scapegoats for misfortunes, both personal and societal. They were easy targets in a world dominated by patriarchal beliefs. A blight on the crops, a sudden illness, the death of a child, any misfortune could be attributed to the malevolent machinations of a witch. The search for a scapegoat was relentless, but how did this climate of fear take root? What were the seeds that grew into such widespread hysteria? What drove ordinary people to turn on their neighbours, fueled by suspicion and driven by terror? The answers lie deep within the human psyche. To understand the dark legacy of the European witch hunts, we must journey back to its very origins, to the heart of the darkness itself. Only then can we unravel the mystery. Only then can we truly grasp the depth of fear that once gripped an entire continent, a fear that left an indelible mark on history. The seeds of the witch hunts were sown long before the first pyre was lit. These seeds were deeply embedded in the soil of medieval Europe, nourished by centuries of superstition and fear. Throughout the Middle Ages, superstition held sway. It was a time when the unknown was often explained through the lens of the supernatural, and every misfortune could be attributed to unseen forces. The line between the spiritual and the physical world was blurred. People lived in a world where the spiritual realm was as real as the physical one, influencing their daily lives in profound ways. People believed in magic, both good and evil. They thought that some individuals possessed the power to heal or harm through supernatural means, and this belief was deeply ingrained in their culture. Folklore was rife with tales of mystical beings, malevolent spirits, and those who trafficked with them. These stories were passed down through generations, reinforcing the fear of the unknown. These beliefs, often rooted in pre-Christian traditions, existed alongside the growing influence of the Church. The Church sought to integrate these beliefs into its own doctrine, but tensions remained. While the Church initially dismissed witchcraft as mere superstition, it gradually began to perceive it as a very real threat, a rival to its own spiritual authority. This shift marked the beginning of a more aggressive stance against perceived witchcraft. The 15th century saw the emergence of the Malleus Maleficarum, Hammer of Witches, a treatise that would become the Witch Hunter's Handbook. This book provided a detailed guide on how to identify, interrogate, and prosecute witches. This terrifying text codified the belief in witchcraft, outlined methods of identifying witches, and advocated for their ruthless persecution. It became a powerful tool in the hands of those who sought to root out witchcraft. It legitimized the fear, turning suspicion into a weapon. Communities were torn apart as neighbors turned against each other, driven by fear and paranoia. The Reformation, with its religious upheaval and societal anxieties, further fueled the flames of paranoia. The shifting religious landscape created an environment ripe for accusations and fear. Accusations of witchcraft became a tool of power, a way to silence dissent, eliminate rivals, and reinforce social control. Those in power used these accusations to maintain their authority and control over the populace. The stage was set for a continent-wide tragedy. The combination of fear, superstition, and the desire for control created a perfect storm that would lead to widespread persecution. Witch trials became a grim reality, with courts and inquisitors playing pivotal roles. These trials were often based on flimsy evidence and driven by hysteria. Fear and hysteria spread like wildfire, engulfing entire communities in chaos. The witch hunts left a lasting scar on the collective memory of Europe, a dark chapter in its history. In the suffocating grip of fear, justice was a distant dream. The accused, presumed guilty, faced trials that were mere charades, designed not to ascertain truth, but to extract confessions. Torture, brutal and unrelenting, became the instrument of this perverse legal system. The tools of their trade were as varied as they were horrific. The rack stretched and contorted bodies, tearing limbs from sockets. The thumbscrews crushed bones and elicited screams that echoed through the dungeons. Sleep deprivation, waterboarding, and burning with hot irons were commonplace. The ingenuity of cruelty knew no bounds. The methods employed went beyond physical agony. Psychological torture played an equally insidious role. Accusers used sleep deprivation, solitary confinement, and threats against loved ones to break the will of their victims. Driven to the brink of madness, many confessed to acts they could not even remember, let alone committed. These confessions, often coerced under unimaginable duress, sealed their fate. The accused, broken and defeated, were condemned as witches. Their punishment, often a gruesome death. Public executions served as grim reminders of the era's brutal justice. The gallows, the stake and the axe were the final arbiters of fate. The aftermath left a chilling silence, a testament to the dark times. The faces of the accused were as varied as the societies they came from, spanning different ages, genders and social statuses. While women, often elderly and marginalized, were the primary targets, the witch hunts did not discriminate entirely. Men, children and even animals were not immune to the accusations, each facing their own harrowing ordeals. Their stories, each a testament to the depravity of the times, reveal a society gripped by fear and superstition. These narratives paint a chilling portrait of suffering and injustice, where reason was often overshadowed by hysteria. Take the tragic tale of Agnes Sampson, a Scottish healer accused of witchcraft in 1590. Her story is one of many that highlight the brutal methods used to extract confessions. Subjected to horrific torture, including sleep deprivation and the crushing weight of stones on her body, she was forced into a false confession. She confessed to consorting with the devil and raising storms to shipwreck King James VI's fleet, a tale born out of sheer agony and desperation. Found guilty, she was strangled and burned at the stake, her life extinguished by the flames of ignorance and fear. Then there was the case of Father Urbain Grandier, a charismatic priest accused of witchcraft in 17th century France. His story is equally tragic and revealing. His alleged crime? Seducing a convent of nuns through demonic possession, a charge that was as sensational as it was unfounded. Despite a lack of evidence and inconsistencies in the accusations, the fervour of the times led to his conviction. Grandier was convicted and burned alive, a victim of the same hysteria that claimed so many others. These are but a few stories among thousands, each one a tragic testament to the human cost of fear and superstition. Each life lost, each soul unjustly condemned, adds to the tapestry of suffering that defined this dark chapter in history. These stories serve as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of fear, ignorance, and the abuse of power, urging us to reflect on our own times. The echoes of these dark times still resonate today, urging us to remember and learn from the past so that such injustices are never repeated.